So a story on Zero Hedge today was really interesting. It talked about who will buy U.S. debt if pretty much everybody hates America. Will the Chinese, will the Russians, who collectively hold over $1.6 trillion in U.S. dollars. We know there's over $5.6 trillion in foreign reserves held in treasuries. We also know that Bernanke's had to step on the accelerator for buying even more treasuries because those parties have stopped buying, and quite frankly, there's just not enough international demand in light of all these bilateral trade agreements. I said in an interview with Greg Hunter on Monday that two prominent hedge fund managers have up and left the country, and they're still investing in American real estate. They're still investing. They just think that the situation here is going to get quite grim for the producers. And they also believe that we're in a chain of events have already been set in motion that will lead to something that I've been talking about for some time, which is a gigantic paradigm shift that is underway, will be a 21st century shock to the financial system. Now, a couple days ago, I was invited to speak at a private conference being held for about 80 of some wealthy clients. There's about 7 different hedge fund managers and private equity fund managers that account for multi-billion dollars worth of business that are putting this conference on. And in the invite, it was somewhat, quite frankly, I felt like it was, there was a sense of urgency to this. Supposedly they want me to speak about preparation and how people prepare for the global economic reset and the paradigm shift. Also to talk about my experience. They think that I have a pretty decent ability to take these complex issues and break them down for basically anyone could understand them, because even their high net worth clients that are wealthy by in their own regard, they still look at a lot of the things that I talk about on this channel, a lot of things that we all collectively believe, and they think it's straight up conspiracy theorists. They think it'll never happen. They think the dollar will always be the world reserve currency. That is being challenged right now as I do this video. Let me just say that most of these big hedge funds, I know because even mine, which is a small time one, has researchers that we hire to help supplement with economic trends and data. These bigger funds that are doing several $billion worth of business a year, they have historians, they have top economist analysts on there, they have people that have studied trends like the changing of the world reserve currency over 6 times in the last 600 years. I mean, these people are forecasting deep into where are we 10, 20, 50 years from now. And they're making, investments or bets, whatever you want to call it, based on those trends and analysis. Okay, so I'll be talking more about that conference, which I'll be attending, and I'm hoping that they're going to allow me to videotape it, which I believe they will allow me to videotape it. But anyways, or at least record it. But let me just say that the Chinese have just sent a aircraft ship, if you will, like an amphibious type ship, like the Russians already have several there, capable of holding over 1,000 Marines. Yesterday they issued a very stern warning, their strongest yet, that if the U.S. invades or strikes Syria, the global economy will be hurt badly and that oil prices will skyrocket. The Russians now have only called the Secretary of State, John Kerry, a liar. They've also issued their own 100-page report, as you know. So what does this all mean? Well, a lot of people think that, and this is mostly amongst, just like the average person that thinks that they're kind of informed. And I think you've kind of seen these people. They're like reading the New York Times or they're watching Fox News and they think they're like on point with what's going on. And they always say, and tell me, think about how many times you've heard this yourself, that the Chinese need America, or that the Russians need America. But more importantly, the Chinese need America because they need us to buy their crap or buy their stuff. Well, perhaps that was true 10 years ago, but as anybody who has done any research in China, knows anything about China, you know that out of their billion population, they just need a few 100 million to replace the U.S. consumer. Keep in mind that the Chinese consumer is not like the U.S. consumer. They don't have racked up credit card bills. In fact, most of their car purchases are done in cash. They're savers. They could easily be given credit and replace a significant amount of U.S. consumers because they don't need to replace every U.S. consumer. They just need to replace enough U.S. consumers to make the change for them having a new global currency or them having a new gold-backed currency or whatever it may be. Now, one last point that I want to talk about, and I had this conversation last night with a pretty reliable source that is, let's just say he has a lot of really good contacts throughout the world. And, you know, him and I were talking about what happens if Obama strikes Syria. And we both came with the conclusion that this is the perfect setup. You got to understand that now for decades you've had countries out there, people out there, Americans out there, even people within our own government. I would likely chalk up Obama as one of them. That's why the globalists use people like this, that have wanted to see America's role as a superpower state be whittled down or reduced down to just an average country like everybody else. And the point there is that both of us agreed that a potential false flag attack, either provoked or provocateered by U.S. sources or by other foreign sources that detonate a nuclear device somewhere, that gas a city with something, and somehow blame it on the Israelis or the Americans, regardless of where you live or what you think about this, could set a chain of motions in effect that could cripple the global economy, fundamentally change everything about just the way we operate and do business and live our lives. Now, that's going to happen, in my opinion, over the next 10 years. And that's why I always stress to people, please consider becoming an entrepreneur. Please look into this. And I'm going to be cutting another video dealing directly with entrepreneurship in a global economic reset, entrepreneurism in a collapse style scenario, because my personal opinion is that you could always be an entrepreneur regardless. I mean, some of the biggest companies that still are around today grew out of the Great Depression. And just note that my personal opinion, that when you hear somebody say that, oh, we're entering a collapse and nothing you do about it will change the outcome, I fundamentally reject that. I still believe, regardless of the financial times we live in, what comes ahead, what happens, that we as individuals still have complete control over our destiny. I'm Fabian for Liberty. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks for watching. I'm out.